So everybody knows that whenever you're getting work done on your house or on your property, you're supposed to get 3 bids, right? I mean, that's what everybody tells you. Do you know how to choose the best one? Stay tuned. I'll help you figure that out. I'd like to welcome you to our YouTube channel where we talk about all things real estate in the Great Smoky Mountains. Today, you wanted to watch why, or how, I guess you should say, to choose a contractor to do the work on your property. Now, some of you that don't know, typically speaking, government contracts have to accept at least 3 offers, and so that seems to be kind of the generally accepted rule. You find you go out, you get 3 bids, and then you pick the one you like best and you choose it. The question is, how do you choose? Do you take the highest priced one because you think they're going to have the best quality? Do you take the lowest priced one because you think that they are going to be the cheapest and save you the most money? Do you choose the middle one, thinking you might get the best of both worlds? Is it all about money? Is the job that you're doing going to be complicated? Can you get 3 bids? There's all kinds of questions that you can ask, and so I'm going to break it down. But to do that, I'm going to tell a story. I was at a city park with my daughters and my nieces. I was taking them out for a birthday party, and I had brought them over to the city park, let them play, and I was sitting down reading a book. My sister comes over to pick up her girls from the park, and while we're talking, family comes over and sits down close to us, and we strike up a conversation. And we start talking. They were retired Air Force and live in the D.C. area. Great people. Thoroughly enjoyed talking to them. We were discussing cabins and cabin rental companies and investing in cabins and working on cabins because they're interested in making investments. And they asked about the area, and I just happened to be there and know some of the answers, and they became intrigued. And so we started discussing several different options, and one of the things that they talked about was that they'd had a horrible experience renovating their home in D.C., and they were asking, they were telling the story, and whenever they did, the lady asked a really neat question. She said, we had 3 contractors come give us a bid, and so we chose the one that we thought would be, the cheapest, and we had a nightmare of a problem. And she said, I just don't know how we chose so wrong. We did what we were supposed to do. We got 3 bids. These were really expensive. He was not really expensive, but it wasn't a great deal of difference. And I said, well, let me tell you a couple factors that you can do to ask about if you're going to have somebody come do some work for you. Because there's so much more than just price. So we're going to go with number 1, price, okay? Because obviously price is an option, at least it is for me. Whenever we get work done or whenever I do work, I want to know the price before I get it done because I don't know that I have the budget to pay what some people charge. Okay, so price is number 1. But number 2, there are many other factors, and we're going to break them down into this. Number 2, the second most important factor is, do they know what they're doing, and can they prove it by telling you how many man hours the job is going to take? Because you'll find that as you're doing work, and you're hiring people to do work for you, that some people are really fast and some people are really slow. And I hate to say that, but that's just the way it works. Then there's people that meet in the middle, and sometimes they're fast, sometimes they're slow, sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. And it just becomes this great big issue about, is the work ever going to get done? Do you need the work done immediately? Is it something they can do in one day? Is it something they can do in 1 week or a month? And so, whenever you're looking, you need to find out that this person knows, and the number one way to find out is ask about man hours. So number one is price, and then number two is ask about man hours. Now, for those of you that don't know, man hours are this. If there are 3 people working on a job, and they work for 10 hours on that job, then it's not 10 man hours, it's 10 hours per man, which makes it 30 man hours. And so why do we use the term man hours? Well, because that is typically something that most people that are schooled in running a business will bid off of. They will make their bid presentation based off of how long they think it will take to do the job. Why is that important? Well, it's important because most people that are not schooled have no idea how many man hours it's going to take. Couldn't tell you. Because they just show up, they plan on doing the work, and they look at it and they use the old thumb rule and they go, oh, let's see, that's going to be $300. Or they'll do the old tried and trusted, well, we'll take the price of the materials and we'll charge you, 2.5 or 3 times what the materials are, and we'll do the work that way. Okay, that's a generally accepted way to do it. However, what that does not account for is the time that it takes them to do the work. Why is that important to you? Because if they're bidding the job and the market is slow, then they might be milking the job because they don't have any other work to do. And so they're going to come in, they're going to take every coffee break and every cigarette break that they can, and they're going to charge you by the hour. And it's going to take much longer than it should, which causes you problems because now you're having to sit there and let somebody more or less use your house as a break area. And that's what they do. They come in and they take breaks and they don't get anything done. The other flip side of that is if they're in a booming market and everybody's working, then they're going to come in, they're going to bid your job, and they're not going to allow enough time to complete the job. And so they're going to come in, they're going to start to work, they're going to work for 2 weeks, and then they get another job, which is going to pay them more, so they leave your job alone, never to be seen or heard from again. Or they keep promising you, well, I'll come back next week. 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 And it never gets done. Both of those problems can cause you, the owner and the supplier of finances, a huge problem. So you want to know, number one, what the price is. Number two, how many man hours is it going to take? You can also ask, how many men are they going to have working on the job so that you can get an idea of how long the job should take. Should it take 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks? Just get a feel for what it's going to be. So the man hours greatly reduces your number of competition because you're going to weed out most of the people that are just handyman and they don't really know what they're doing. They're just there to work. Not saying handymen are bad. We do a lot of handyman work. I'm just saying if you're doing a major project and you need a major project done, you don't need a handyman to do it. You need somebody that really knows what they're doing because they can get in and get it done much faster. I will give you an example. Staining cabins. I have personally stained cabins. I have built enormous scaffolding, and we get up there and we get up on top and we spray it and we brush it back in and we do all the job and we clean everything and it's done. But I have found that there is a good friend of mine that stains cabins, and that's what they do most of the time. He can get in and get the job done faster than I can do it, better than I can do it, cheaper than I can do it. So, do I get up and stain cabins anymore? Every once in a while if they need something repaired. But most of the time, I hire them to do it because they do a better job faster and cheaper, and they get you, the end user, a better product, and it's done faster, and they have all the stuff that it takes to do it, and there's no problems. Okay, so that gives you a couple ideas. Okay, so number 1 was money. Number 2 was man hours. Number 3, and this is a big one. Do they have the equipment required? And I don't mean, well, let me put it this way. I'll tell you another story. I bid a job, a couple months ago to go do some tree work. Big job. They were clearing a lot, and I bid it at, I think it was $5,000 for the initial, and then to clean the lot was another $5,200. We were right at $10,200 by the time we got all our numbers in and done. The owner told me that they found somebody to do it for $2,300. Now my job was $10,200. This guy was going to do it for $2,300. That's a vast difference. So the owner comes to me and says, "Oh, you're way too expensive." I said, "Compared to what?" They say, "Well, this guy can do it for $2,300. I said, "Well, he might, but he's going to end up getting out there, and it's going to take him weeks, and he's going to have all kinds of problems, and he's going to have to go buy new equipment." I said, "How do I know that?" Because we've been in business 8 years, and we see it happen all the time, and that's just the way it works. Well, what happens? The other guy starts the job. A week into it, the contractor and I, who the contractor works for the owner, the contractor and I are bidding another job. I asked him, I said, "Hey, how's that other job coming with the lot clearing that they wanted me to do?" And he said, "Oh my goodness, John, you would not believe it." He said, "The guy got out there and cut down the trees, and his saw burned up." So he had to go buy a new saw. And he charged the owners for a new saw. And he doubled the price. So now it's $5,000. I said, "Really? Go figure." I said, "Has he done any of the clearing work yet?" He said, No, not yet. No, it's not done yet." I said, "Okay." 2 weeks later, we're now 3 weeks into the project. The guy is almost done with the lot clearing. The contractor comes to me and says, "John, he's almost done. Today's his last day at work, and I just thought I would tell you this. He sent the owner the last bill, and it came out to be $11,500. I said, "You're kidding." He said, "Nope." Or it was 11,800. I can't remember. It was 11,500 or 11,800. And I said, "There you go. That's it right there." That's why they would use us. We could do it in 3 days, and it would cost $10,500. $10,200. But instead, they went with somebody else who didn't know what they were doing, didn't have the equipment. It took them 3 weeks, and they charged them $11,000 something. Guys, I feel like writing the owner a letter and saying, "You know what? You should pay me the difference, the $1,300 or $1,500 difference, because I told you I could do that job for $10,500, and I could do that job for $10,500 because I know how much it's going to take. But instead, you let somebody that lied to you trick you into paying them more money because they told you they could do it cheaper up front." That drives me absolutely crazy. And it took them 3 weeks. And now the project is behind schedule. Drives me absolutely crazy because that's what we bid against regularly. So the price is important. But as you can see, the stated price and the actual price may be something vastly different. Number 2, the man hours. You want to know what the man hours are, how long it's going to take them, how much they charge a man hour. Ask them if they have man hour rates. Do they tell you what they charge? Number 3, do they have equipment that is up to the task? What we tell people is there is homeowner equipment. Well, okay, we'll use that example. Okay, that exact example. We have chainsaws that are commercial duty chainsaws that cost almost $1,500. Okay, that's a big saw. I don't know if you could burn it up. You would really, you'd probably have to be cutting concrete or something crazy to burn that saw up. I mean, good grief. So we have commercial duty equipment. Then there is a lower grade, which they call, like farm equipment, or it's not, I don't call it farm. I can't remember what they call it. It's a medium duty. Then there's a light or homeowner duty. Then there you can get industrial grade. Okay. Industrial grade is something that is built to do, I mean, it's a machine. Okay. Now, they're all machines, but in chainsaws, you've got the $180 chainsaw that you go buy from Walmart or Sears and Roebuck or whoever it is that you're going to order it online from. I don't even know if Sears and Roebuck is a thing anymore. But then there is then there's the medium duty that you're going to go down to your local hardware store and you're going to buy one. It's going to be $400 or $500, and they're pretty doggone good chainsaws and they'll work really well. Then there is the commercial grade where you're going to go buy one. It's going to be $1,200, $1,500. And then there is the industrial grade that could be $6,000 or $7,000 and on up. So that gives you an idea. If somebody goes out with a homeowner's equipment to do a commercial job, they can't keep doing them because the equipment will not allow them to be productive. Okay? So that's just something, that's what we're talking about, the equipment. So price, man hours, equipment. Those three things will typically get you almost everything you can figure out whenever you get that done. You can look at those, and those three things will clarify specifically which contractor you need once you ask those three questions. If you are lucky enough to have 2 or 3 contractors that all know what they're doing and they're all good at what they do and they're all right there, then the fourth thing comes down to how the company is structured. That's a whole nother ball game. We can get into that in another video, but more or less what it comes down to is some companies are structured to do enormous jobs. Okay, in landscaping. All right, let's look at landscaping. So there are landscaping jobs. A friend of mine installed a retaining wall and a patio, and it was $1.2 million or it was over $1 million retaining wall and patio. There are not a lot of retaining wall and patios that you put in that are $1 million, but this was one of them. So that company is structured to do huge rock jobs. Now, we do landscaping, but I don't do huge rock jobs that have $1 million. I'd go hire them to do it for me if we need it done, okay? Because they're structured to do it. There are some companies that only mow, and so they can mow faster, but they do landscaping as well. That company is going to make more money mowing than the guy that is making money installing the patio. It's a no-brainer because they do the same thing. They both do landscaping, but they do it on totally different scales. So that's the fourth one, is how the company is structured. So price, man hours, equipment, and then how the company is structured. Most of the time, whenever you're bidding the job, the companies that you're bidding against, just to be honest with you, the price of your job is going to determine whether they even want to bid on it or not. So don't feel bad if you call somebody that is a very high-end company and everybody talks and rants and raves about how good they are, and you want them to come do a $200 job, and they say, well, we can't do that. It's not that they don't like you. It's not that they don't like your money. It's that their overhead is built. Overhead is how the company is structured and how much it costs them to do work. Their overhead is built to do jobs that are $30,000 or $100,000 or $1 million jobs. And so to send somebody in one of their vehicles to go to your place to do a $200 job is not an insult to them. It's just that they can't make any money doing it. Then there's the guys on the flip side of that if they were to do a $30,000 job, they'd be way out of their league because they're designed to do $65, $70, $80 jobs. A $200 job would almost be a big one for them. So you want to find the companies that fit with your budget and what you're looking for by the structure. So price, again, we'll go over it. Price, man hours, equipment, and how the company's structured. Those 4 things are going to tell you which company you should choose. How do you figure it out? Well, let's go back to that first story I was telling about the couple that was in the Air Force and what they were doing. What they did was they had, I want to say, don't hold me to this, but I want to say they were doing a $69,000 remodel, and they hired a handyman to do it. And he was used to doing $20,000 jobs all day, no big deal. Well, this $69,000 job kind of kicked his butt, and he got into it and he started it, and he wasn't really comfortable doing it. And so he just said, forget this, I'm losing money, I'm going to go do something else. He wasn't a bad contractor. He wasn't trying to stiff them. He was actually honest enough to tell them that he was losing money and he couldn't finish the job. But if they had asked the right questions, they would have known that beforehand, and then they would have hired somebody else. They ended up hiring one of the other contractors that bid the job, who came in and finished it, and they ended up paying, I want to say it was $83,000 to get the job completed. If the company that finished it had done it originally, it probably would have cost them about 75. I think they said it was $75,000. But they ended up having to pay more because they had to fix some of the things that the other guy screwed up. So by trying to save $6,000, it ended up costing them thousands more dollars. That happens regularly and often. So I just want you to understand, ask those 4 questions. What's the price? Learn about their man hours. Ask how many man hours it's going to take. Ask their man hour structure. Ask how they charge. Do they have the equipment to do it, and how is their company structured? Those 4 things will set you free when it comes to hiring somebody to work for you to do contracting. So, taking up enough of your time today. Thank you for listening. Hope this was all interesting and you learned something. Please let me know other topics that you would like to hear, because, man, we've got so much stuff that we learn. I feel sometimes like the stuff that I tell you, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, because I know you guys are smart, because if you weren't smart, you wouldn't be watching this YouTube channel, because this is something that only smart people would do. Because, well, maybe you'd have to be dumb to be watching this YouTube channel because you're listening to me. So, there you go. But at any rate, until next time, I'm John Suttles, author of the Cabin Owner's Manual, author of The Business of Owning a Rental Cabin. We run Cardinal Custom Lawn Property Maintenance Solutions. By the way, we have another YouTube channel that talks more about that. But right now, we're talking about real estate and how it affects you. So until next time, have a good day.